So the clock hits the hour mark and it's about this, it's the right time to start. Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to a Zefort webinar. This time again, after a while with a product focus. My name is Niklas Hakalax. I'm head of sales at Zefort, and within the next 20-30 minutes, I will give you a first taste of our new feature release, which is the Zefort Forms. We released this last week, so it's fresh out of the oven, and you will be among the first ones to see it. So hopefully you will enjoy it. So I will share my screen now and give you a bit of background information before going to the actual demo. So now it's working as it should. Yeah. So just a bit of background information on Zefort and our purpose and our kind of perspective when it comes to contract lifecycle management. So if we look at the three areas of CLM, pre-sign, sign, and post-sign, so our starting point and our kind of core is in the post-sign phase of things. And the reason for this is simple, because we believe that when we start from the post-sign, we help the customer prevent in siloing their contract processes. So we have one one place where everything ends up finding their way into, instead of starting it from the other kind of phase of things and then siloing and spreading out. So we start from the post-sign phase of things, and Zefort exists as a tool where all of our customers can store their important contracts and other types of documents. But to support these various kinds of processes, we of course want to bring our own feature sets as well. So when it comes to signing, we have our own Zefort Sign. We've had it for about a year now. And of course, we also work with other e-sign solutions, but Zefort Sign is the solution that's available to be used within Zefort, and again, exists to give our customers an alternative and a feature to keep their contract in one single solution instead of switching between platforms throughout the process. And now, as you see, the arrow has entered the pre-sign phase of things as well, with the release of the Zefort Forms. And again, this is something that we are very proud of. And the idea with this is still to make the CLM process as a zero effort experience. And this exists to cover the needs that our customers might have in collecting information from their customers, partners, employers, and keep that process in line with the Zefort Sign and Zefort Post Sign as well. So again, it's just one path that you can use in your everyday contract management needs. So before we go to the forms, what are Zefort Forms? Just need to switch the slides. So basically, forms in their content can be any type of document. Only your imagination and sky is the limit. But basically, it's examples that we've come across with our customers are NDAs, ESGs, different kind of surveys, employer surveys, even rental agreements as such. Basically, it's a method to collect information from different parties, which then lead to generating a legal document, which you can then sign in Zefort using Zefort Sign, and at the end of the day, automatically store in Zefort. So you cover all the boxes in the CLM process. So basically, I said, the content can be more or less anything. Only your imagination is the limit. But that as kind of the background on what we have tried to achieve with the addition of forms, let's get to the concrete part of things. So now I'm switching to my Zefort account, and those of you who are familiar in using Zefort know this GUI very well. And as Zefort Sign, also Zefort Forms is automatically added to all new customer accounts that we open. And if you're an existing customer and you don't have it yet and you want to have it, it's very easy. We will just open the Zefort Sign for you because it's an automatic extension to the Sign. So if you have Sign, you will also get the Forms And as with Sign, it's totally cost-free. So the feature in itself doesn't bring any type of cost. And the cost is purely based on the transactions generated by the possible signatures that you will have on the forms after they go to the signature phase in Zefort Sign. But as a feature, it's totally cost-free. But now let's go to the actual concrete part of things. So forms you will find here on the left, just below the signatures. And the forms GUI looks like this. From before, I have one form that has been previously generated. It is in the live phase of things. So you can have different statuses on your forms. You can have lives, then of course drafts, and then you can time and schedule your forms as well, so they can be expired and upcoming. And you also have other types of filters that you can utilize in case you have tons of different forms and you want to find them. Here, as said, is one that has been previously generated. And just a simple way to kind of open it is that you have your view form, or you can copy the URL, but clicking view form opens this, the one that has been generated earlier. A really simple example. I will be generating a more detailed one later in the demo, but here you would see a very simple form that was already in the system. But in this demo, we will generate a new form, and logically, you will be able to generate a new form by clicking Add Form on the right corner, top right corner of the screen. And as this is a webinar, let's name this form as a webinar registration form. So let's play along that this would be now a form that would be used to register for Zefort webinars in the future. So simply put, we will just name it like that. And then we have the possibility to select the language as well. So we cover English and the Nordic languages in terms of the language used in the form. Now we create a new one, and we are brought to this view. On the left, we have a variety of different steps that we go through before we will publish the webinar. And the first one is the content editor. So here we have the possibility to start now creating the template of the form. And we have two tabs. We have the actual content page of the form and how it will appear visually. And then we have the thank you page, which will appear once the form has been submitted. I think for now, we don't need to touch on the thank you page. We will just focus on the content page. So let's start building our webinar registration form. And we will start by putting in content here from the blocks panel. So we have different tabs with different kind of content opportunities. Input, then we have selections, then we have the eSign possibilities, and then text fields. And here we will start with the text field. So let's put a heading like this, and let's call this heading registration for Zefort webinar, like that. And it's been created like this. Then let's put a short description underneath it, like that. And let's type in, please fill out or fill in this information in order to register for the webinar. Like that. That's been created. And then now we already have a title and a heading. So now let's start putting in the actual input and let's go to the input tab. And here we get to decide what do we require from the persons filling in this form. I think we'll have a box for the first name. We'll put it here below the description. And let's do this, use this as mandatory because we actually want the name of the people, of the persons coming to the webinar. Then let's also have a last name box underneath the first name. And again, let's make this mandatory like this. Then we have possibility to create full name, textbook, the text input, text areas as such. Email address we won't use here because we will have an e-sign at the end of the form. So we have email coming in there, but let's have a phone number here as well, like that. And this we don't need to put as mandatory. We can just create it like that. So these would be kind of the basic information fields that we want from the persons registering into our webinar. Then what we also want to have is them to approve our general terms and conditions. So for that, we would go to the Select tab. And here we actually have a ready-made box for terms and conditions. And I will actually put it here underneath the phone number. The actual terms and conditions can then be uploaded as an attachment later in the process. But for now, we will just keep the box as it is. Then, because we want to be very structured in our registration process, we want people to come in through e-sign. So let's add an e-sign box here, or actually, let's put another text field here, a description field underneath the terms and conditions, and just write, please complete your registration with an e-sign like that. And now it's being created. And then let's go to the e-sign tab and add the wanted level of e-sign. So we have the exact same possibilities that we have in Zefort Sign. So we have email authentication, SMS, and the bank level advanced authentications. But in this example, I think it's enough with the email authentication. So let's put it down here. At any time in the process, you can go to preview and share, and you will see how your form is coming together. So you will get this opportunity, but let's go to that, back to that later in the process. But I think for now, for the structure, I think we're looking pretty good. So we have a form with a title, with a description. Then we ask the person to fill in their name, last name, first name, phone number, approve their terms and conditions. I'll be coming back to this later in the walkthrough. And then we have the actual e-sign process, which is initiated from here. But I think this looks quite good now. So the next tab is the form settings. So if you want, at all times, you can come here and maybe rename it, change the language, change the owner. As said, you can schedule it so you can have a time window when it's valid. Then on the right side, you can create if it's access, if anyone can access this just by having access to the link. So the link is public, or if it requires actually signing into Zefort, that only people with login credentials to Zefort can use this form. You can decide that as well. And then you have the possibility to use a logo and or remove a logo from the form. In this case, we have the Zefort logo, and this is something that will be adding more options as we go further. Then we go to the attachments tab. So here now I can decide the attachments that are in the form itself. So I also have the opportunity to give the person who fills in the form to upload their own attachments. But in this case, I have an attachment that is a part of the form. So in this case, I want to have Zefort's general terms and conditions to be viewed and checked for all persons who are coming to the webinar. So now this is here as an attachment. Then I go to the e-sign settings. And for those of you using Zefort Sign, this is quite a familiar site. So here I get now determine the process of e-sign when it comes to signing the actual form. So here I now have the person who fills in the form as a signer, and I will now put myself as well. In this case, myself is John Smith because I've logged in as a demo user called John. But what I actually want to do here is make myself an approver. So basically, every time someone registers the webinar, I will get information of it that, hey, these people have now signed and registered, but they won't be approved before I tick the approve box. So I will make John Smith an approver by their role like this. Then, by default, an approver is always the first person receiving the contract. But in this case, we want to turn it around because we want them to register first and then us to approve it. So let's change the sign order to flexible and then put the person signing the form as first and then John Smith as an approver. And we're done here as it is. And then we have the preview and share opportunity. So this is how it's looking at the moment. So you have the direct link. Then you can select a style. So we have the Zefort style, visual Zefort style as it is. You can have just a plain white template or a dark template as well. But content-wise, here you'll see what we've now added. So we have the title, we have the description, then we have, as said, the boxes for the names, not mandatory phone number. Then we have the terms and conditions box to be ticked. And here on the right side, we have actually the terms and conditions to be viewed. And then we have the signing addresses and then the possibility to submit. And then as it's been released here underneath the submissions, we have the possibility to see who have signed up, which contracts are added, and then which people would be notified about possible new signups. But otherwise, I think we are done with this part of the process. So now we can publish the form. And now as we go to the forms section, we see that there is a new one, the webinar registration, and it's live. And now let's actually go to the phase in the webinar where we actually get someone signing up. So let's open this from here. So view form opens this as a new tab for us. This one is on the way all the time. So now we have the possibility to fill this in. And I have a dummy email for a person called Bobby Zefort. And now Bobby Zefort will be signing up for the webinar. So he'll just write his name like this, Bobby Zefort, phone number. It actually needs to be a proper phone number, so I just can't type 1 2 3 4 5. I need to have it in a real phone number format, so I will leave this empty. He will approve the terms and conditions. Then in what is his email address in which he will sign it. So bobbyzefort@gmail.com, like that. And again, full name, let's call him Bobby Z, and then CEO. So now he is submitting the form. And what's happening is that the form and information has been submitted successfully. And when we go to Bobby's email, we will see that he's been invited to sign a document. So here he gets to see the form that's been generated and also the GTC document that we've added as an attachment. So now he is ready to sign it like this. Let's give it a couple of seconds. Yes, your signature has been registered. And now as we go back to Zefort, if all goes well, we should be getting an approver request for John in a minute to actually, let me see if everything went well. Yes, so John has now one signature request to be handled because he's an approver. So he can view the request, view and approve. Yep, Bobby Z is okay. We can have him attend our webinar. So let's just approve the document like this. And now the process is done. So it's been all done. I can close this window like that. And now Bobby, who's coming to the webinar, gets the signing completed here, the completed document here in his email as a download version. But then when we go to the Zefort account where we initiated this form from, we get to see that the contract has now been started from the form phase, then been sent to Zefort sign, and now as it's been signed by all parties, it's brought in to my Zefort post-sign management phase of things, along with all of my other contracts, together with all of the information required to handle the process entirely. So that was a quick run through in about 20 minutes about Zefort Forms. I'm stopping my screen sharing. So wrapping up what Zefort Forms tries to achieve is that give you one more opportunity to manage your contract management needs in your everyday purposes. So again, the content of the forms can be anything you want, but in a way, in short, it's a way to gather information in a quick and easy way in documents that require signature, strong advanced signature if needed. Everything is fully GDPR compliant, and most importantly, everything is then gathered and covered in the post-sign management phase, along with all of your other new contracts in the same place. So thanks for tagging along. This was a 20-minute efficient demo. You will get a on-demand version of this walkthrough later during the day. And if you have any questions or want to see a more thorough demo, maybe possibly answering questions that you might have based on your needs, please feel free to reach out to me or my colleagues. You know, we're happy to talk about Zefort with you and show the tools for you. So thank you for tagging along, and have a great rest of the week.